Hello, my name is Host Eric. I'm the host talking with famous people, and we're starting right now by talking about what's on my screen rather than you seeing anybody's face. Eric says his Quadra wears fedoras. I don't know which Quadra that is, but we'll find out by reading some of this text and then discussing it. Delta Quadra is the Quadra we're going to talk about first. It's the fourth Quadra, as they say. Includes LSE, EII, IEE, and SLI. What are those types? Well, the Delta Quadra is comprised of the EII, which is the ethical, intuitive introvert, and that is going to be your INFP. It's comprised of your logical, sensory extrovert, and that's your ESTJ. It's comprised also of your intuitive, ethical extrovert, and that's your ENFP. And lastly, it has your sensory, logical introvert, that's your ISTJ. The JP things I'm just using straight up Myers-Briggs kind. So when I say ISTJ, I mean SITEFINE. When I say INFP, I mean FINESITE. Okay, that's the type I'm talking about, just to make sure there's no misclarification. Now, note here it says for the Delta Quadras that this is judicious quadrant, or Quadra, a judicious Quadra, a serious Quadra, and an aristocratic Quadra. I want to talk more later in a different video about what this aristocratic, democratic element actually means, but I can tell you that the judicious Quadra means they like to think about things more rather than making decisions right away. And the serious Quadra means they're not merry. They don't favor TIFE. It doesn't mean they can't have a good time. It just means they're not hamming it up, slap you on the back. Hey, Bob, how you doing? Come on over here. We're being merry together. Ho, ho, ho. Santa Claus is not a member of the Delta Quadra. Okay, dominant elements. Grouping together the elements of the ego blocks of the Delta Quadra types, we get a picture of what aspects of life Delta Quadra types strive to bring to the forefront of life, as well as the kind of group atmosphere and lifestyle they pursue. TE blocked with SI. Delta types make a point of talking about the rationale behind their actions and emphasizing the productiveness or unproductiveness of different ways of doing things, even in such emotional areas as personal relationships. Delta types value peaceful, refreshing activities where they are doing something useful and balancing out their inner world at the same time. Delta types have the philosophy that they will rely on their own industriousness to achieve their goals rather than on luck, speculation, group effort, or strong leadership. Next, NE blocked by blocked with FI. Delta types love to share personal experience mixed with their own sentiments regarding their experiences, but all in an insightful and non-dramatic manner. Delta types like to talk about new beginnings, opportunities for personal growth, and their plans and prospects for the future. Subdued elements. So those first ones we talked about were dominant elements. These give you an idea about the things that they sort of actively, consciously think about and favor. Subdued elements. Grouping together the elements of the superego blocks of the Delta Quadra types, we get a picture of what aspects of life Delta types strive to keep hidden and avoid not focused attention on and keep at the periphery of their lives. FE blocked with NI. Delta types rarely display their deep passions and vision, preferring instead to talk in more neutral terms about what they want to do and why. Delta types reject dramatism and emotional effect in favor of wry humor and understatement. Delta types don't tend to form or maintain group based on fun, emotional interaction, but only take groups seriously to perform some common, productive, or restful activity. Delta groups generally dislike poetic wording when describing their inner state, but talk simply about what they feel or their bodily sensations. Also subdued element. SE blocked with TI. Delta types do not fare well in high-pressure situations where they are being forced to do things, are facing threatening opponents, or are submitted to rigorous discipline, but wear out quickly and look for a more peaceful and welcoming environment. Group behavior. Groups made up primarily of Delta types tend to be focused on working on projects, enjoying physical recreation, or finding out interesting things about each other. Laughter is usually subdued and brief. Instead, people smile a lot and try to be witty and welcoming. Groups need to be focused on some specific productive activity or topic of discussion, or else they fall apart. In Delta groups, there is a lot of splintering and decentralization. This allows for more focused and productive interaction with only those who share your particular interests or sentiments. People jump from small group to small group easily to keep up their interest level. No one demands that the entire group listen to one person or that everyone do things the same way. Delta Quadra types believe that if everyone just pursues their own interests and makes some accommodations for others, the group will be better off anyway. Delta Quadras do not focus on building group identity or unity of purpose, but prefer for the group to remain splintered and decentralized. Romance styles. Well, actually, let's talk about the group behavior first, then we'll go and do romance styles, then we'll do perceptions of other quadras, okay? So let's talk about what we read so far first. I have one comment and then I'll open it up, which is I've noticed that when a given video is too rambly or not topic specific, that can frustrate some of the INTJ type personalities and some other types as well, and that NTPs are more comfortable with that kind of rambly purposelessness. So that's one thing that resonated with me that I read. Let's talk to somebody who's in that quadra. Mega Bro, do you have any thoughts on that?
Are you trying to talk about Gamma Quadra or Delta Quadra?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're not in that type. My bad. Delta Quadra I'm talking about. Um, so I'm looking instead for a ENFP, an ISTJ, an ESTJ, or an INFP. Do we have any of those in the room? Delta? Delta Quadrant not in the house. Yeah, you're right, Yubi, my bad. I make dumb mistakes like that all the time. Thank you for correcting me. That's why you're the logical one in the group instead of me. Okay. INFP listeners here. Well, you missed all the fun, INFP listener. We already read it. I can't read it again. Okay, so let's go on to then, let's talk about specifically what they don't, they say laughter is quiet and subdued. Well, that's to be understood because they are not an FE bunch, right? They're all FI and they're all TE. So, as a consequence, we do have one, but they're not FE, so they're going to be, I think, in general, quieter and less interested in tomfoolery. Okay, so let's look now at this one here. Romance styles. Delta romantic relationships usually begin simply as the encounter of two individuals interested in a relationship in each other in a particular moment, with very little in terms of outward demonstrations of romance in the wooing sense of the term, or in strong external demonstrations of emotions. Deltas are more focused on the present moment than gammas, and therefore even relationships of very strong attachment do not lead to constant patterns as to their longer-term practical feasibility. Deltas see optimal romantic relationships those where partners spend time together on fun activities and sharing ideas of potential practical application. Romantic atmospheres are low-key based on comfort, but practicality. Again, this is a type that I don't know well, except I will say my dad is ESTJ, and he is not remotely romantic, and I watched him, his relationship with my mom, their whole lives together, and his idea of romance is to pat her on the back once in a while, be like, Jane, I love you. That's ESTJ romance in a nutshell. Okay, so let's talk. Anybody else have any comment about ESTJ romance? Again, I mean not ESTJ, Delta romance. That's ESTJs, INFPs, ENFPs, and ISTJs. I know a couple. Cameron seems attentive as a relationship partner as an ESTJ, although I've never actually seen him in interaction with his woman, so I don't really know. And ENFPs, I hear they tend to be get into and out of a lot of relationships. Just what I hear. Thoughts?
Well, my mom is an ENFP, and I see her relationships with her marriage with my dad, and now she has a marriage with another guy. And I very much agree, at least or with my observations, about the idea that they like a relationship that produces results, or they like to do something productive with the other person. Like that is their idea of bonding or fun, like do a project together, build something together, something like that. She's a lot like that. And the one thing, though, I had a problem with, or at least in my experience, INFPs are extremely romantic. Usually have, at least the ones I've met, have a very structured, idealized way of what their relationship should be like, or like how communication and
I don't think that's romance, though. I
affection
think
should.
I think that's about their ongoing struggle to wrestle with the FINE combination in general. I don't think that's just about romantic partners. It just manifests most towards romantic partners because INFPs are very cautious in having relationships with others in general. I think they're among them are the least connected types. in terms of deep connections to individual others, because I think their relationships affect them so strongly, and they're so subject to interpretive mush, and that's what it's like. They're saying, well, here are all the different possibilities I could feel this way. I mean, that's got to be fucking tough, So naturally, they're gonna not want to engage with a lot of other people, because every time somebody says something, it's gonna resonate through this any frame of possible ways that the person could have been motivated or mean something, and the ways in which the other person's behavior affects your feelings and all that kind of stuff. And it's got to be a difficult world to live in, because most people don't want to be have their feelings have their behavior policed quite so closely. Like,
Yeah.
no, you said this and that made me feel bad. Well, I said that, you chose to feel bad.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. Just, I guess my comment was more particularly like geared at the point in the romance style section where it just said like, therefore even relationships of very strong attachment do not lead to constant concerns as to their long-term feasibility. I just haven't observed that with any INFP that I know. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
Like, just,
hey, I think that's a good observation. I just tend to disagree sort of reflexively. It doesn't necessarily mean I disagree. Okay. Any other thoughts on this romance style stuff?
Actually, I have an ESTJ uncle, and he's extremely romantic.
Is he?
Like, yes, very. Okay, I feel like I've met two types of ESTJs. The really, like, harsh, authoritarian, like, that kind of stereotypical ESTJ, and then I've also, I guess what I would call, like, it's kind of the ENFP ESTJ, like that other side of them, where they're, like, really soft and gentle and, like, really fatherly or motherly. I don't know, so I've met both.
Well, my
uncle's
dad
a lot like
displays
that.
both for sure. He would never forget to buy my mom something on any sort of official day that you're supposed to do that, and he likes
Yeah.
to surprise her, and she got very tired of his surprises, because his surprises, he likes to also go to the swap meet, right? And he'd
Yeah.
buy some used thing like a sweater or something for her, and say, "Look, Jane, this is a," and he'd say what the brand name was. He'd be like, "This is a Susan Blakenson brand sweater. Those cost $50 in the store. I got it for $1.50. Surprise! Here you go."
Yeah.
That's romance for my dad, but
I
my
think
mom
he's
be
trying to
good.
orchestrate like his deep feelings through TE. Like, okay, this thing's expensive. I got it for cheap. This is a great deal. Like, I value this, or she should value this because this is so expensive. Like, and then
Right.
gives it to her. Like,
And
these
then
are
she'd
my
say-
orchestrated feelings.
Right, and she'd say, "David, I do not need another one of those. David, would you stop bringing this home?"
Yeah.
That's what my parents were like. But of course, they never had. They weren't like pack rats or anything. The house is fucking spotless. It's always been spotless. Okay, so anyway, let's go to the last section of this Delta Quadrant, and then we'll get more input from others and see where we go from there. So the last part is their attitudes or their perceptions of other quadras. Deltas tend to see alpha types as fun company and interesting people to discuss ideas and prospects with, but naive and inconsistent in their personal and business relationships. I am hurt. Alpha types seem to lack the common sense, to turn their fun and creative energy into something productive, and often seem overly idealistic. Really? Well, Delta. Beta. Deltas tend to see beta types as people who dream big and always want to turn things into grandiose endeavors yet can't manage day-to-day affairs effectively. Also, beta types seem unwilling to consider things from the point of view of others, which gives them a streak of meanness and cruelty. Gamma. Deltas tend to see gamma types as driven and reliable in personal and business relationships, but not sufficiently understanding of people who want to pursue their own individual path in life. Gamma types sometimes become too demanding and can have a streak of vindictiveness or spitefulness, which prevents them from accepting and forgiving. So this is how deltas view the rest of us. According to this, deltas see me as lacking in common sense, naive, and inconsistent, but also fun. So that's what I am according to that thing. Any thoughts on those? INTJs, Hami or Megabro, does that conform with your perceptions of them, of the deltas? I'm sorry, that wouldn't work that way. It's not reversed. It only goes one direction. So we don't have any deltas who are really chiming in here. Deltas, I'm glad we did them first because they're the type that we see least often around here. So I think we're going to end this video right here, and thank you very much for watching, and thank you for being here, those of you who are here, and we'll start the next one on a Quadra that we have more individuals involved in a second.